And we're live. At least I think we are. We'll go with it. So you may have noticed we've upgraded our studio this week. We've upgraded from the blanket to a shower curtain. Hey, the studio's a bedroom, so what are you going to do? Anyway, welcome everyone. I just wanted to give you a few tips and tricks here on Skyward. I did get a couple of people that asked a couple of specific questions, so we'll address those as we go through. But if you have questions about anything, Skyward or other things, don't be afraid to throw them into chat, and we'll do our best to get to them and answer them as we go along here. So the first thing I want to address in Skyward looks like this. If you'll throw my screen up there, please, Mr. Producer. On the parent side, and this is something that a lot of us don't get to see as teachers. If you don't have a student in a Skyward district somewhere, you don't necessarily get to see the parent side of what Skyward or the student side of what Skyward looks like. But if you bring up grades, you get a screen that looks like this, and it lists the grades out based on the category that they're put in. I see this a lot. A lot of teachers, especially the ones that are doing, total points grades. So instead of putting the grades based on percents and categories, they're doing a total points type setup, which is totally fine. By default, Skyward leaves all kinds of categories enabled, and most teachers don't use all of those categories. And so when a student or a parent goes to look at their grade, they get all these extra categories in there that they don't need to see, and it kind of splits things up and makes it hard to find certain assignments and whatnot. So let me switch over here to Skyward, and again, this is a scrambled database. This is a test database for Skyward. This is not real student data, so no privacy issues here. But when you go into a class and set up the grade book, you can get rid of those categories and make it a lot easier on parents and students. As a teacher, you don't really have to deal with all those categories all the time, but as a parent or a student looking at your grades, you do. So in the grade book, if you go in the middle here where it says categories and choose that, and you get all these categories here. First thing I want to mention is up at the top, you can choose whether to grade based on total points, which is the default, or based on categories. If you want to do categories, you would come over here to the button on the right and click change score method. Assuming that you want total points, which is again the default, over on the right here side, it says edit, add edit categories. You want to go there, and you get this whole list of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff checked by default, and you just want to get rid of the ones that you're not going to use. You can always add them in later, and the categories don't affect the grades, so you can add and delete them as you need them. For example, you may decide, hey, I have classwork and daily work. I don't need both of those, so I'm just going to get rid of classwork for now. And then, maybe a month later you go, well, we're doing this assignment. It's not really daily work. I want to call it classwork. And you can come back in here and add classwork back in as an option. So I would suggest that the best option is to go in there, click unselect all, and then go through and check the ones that you need. So you may need things like, like I said, daily work, maybe you have a final exam in your class, homework category, and then, maybe quizzes. So when you save that, that's going to change the categories that you see. So now instead of having all those categories listed there, I have just the ones I want. And again, you can go back and edit this at any point in time during a semester or grading period, and it's not going to mess up the grades or anything like that. It does goof things up if you change scoring systems. Like if you change from total points to categories, you're going to have a lot of things change in terms of grades. So you don't really want to do that in the middle of a grading term. But you can change the categories. If you're on total points, you can change those categories pretty much at any time you want. So that's one thing that I wanted to show. I had a request, talk a little bit about reports. So I'm going to go back into the grade book here. One report that I've had to run recently that I don't often run is just a straight grade report for all of my students. With the grading changes that keep coming from the state, just got some new ones last night. But anyway, with the grading changes that keep coming, one of the things that they've been worried about is that we have to make sure we know what their grade was on a certain date going forward. So if I need to know what my students' grades are now, when I get to be, towards the end of the semester, then I'm going to need a report to go back to, because Skyward doesn't let you go in and say, hey, show me what my students' grades were on this date a long time ago. So we need to run that report now. So if I go to reports, again, this toolbar across the top, sort of towards the middle, a little to the right of center, it says reports. I'm going to go down to grade sheet report. It's the first one in the second category under grade books is grade sheet report. And if I open that up, it gives me all these standard templates. I'm just going to run the first one that's there, the default, and show you what it looks like. And then we'll talk about how we can change that to fit what we need. So I'm going to go ahead and print that. It'll take a minute to do its thing here, and then it'll let me see it. Okay, so display report. And so right now I've got names and it looks like semester, grade, and percent are there. Average and max score would be there. There aren't any grades in this particular grade book. If there were, there'd be numbers in those boxes. And then there's a signature line, and it would show me their letter grade and their percent, which is really what I need. If yours isn't set up that way, let me show you how you can edit the template to show you exactly what you want. So the first thing to notice is that if I select any of these predetermined templates, I don't have an option over here on the right-hand side to modify it, to edit that template. But if I take one that's kind of close to what I want, and I think it's best to go through them and look real quick and see what they look like, and then pick one that's close to what you want. If you clone that template, you can give it a name. I'll just call this one test. And then it drops you right into these options that you can choose what to include and not include in the report. So for example, I don't need a signature line. Font size, let's make it a little bigger because it'll be easier to read. Term options, term grade marks, that's the letter grades, and the percents, I want to see those in this particular case. Assignment legend, I don't need. Show assignments, I really don't need to see the assignments in this one. I think student ID number might be helpful, so I'll include that one in this one. And I really don't want to use a random sort order. I want them to be in alphabetical order in my gradebook order, so I'm going to leave that one on there. And then you can choose periods up here to include in the report in terms of showing assignments and whatnot. So I'm going to leave it as current term, so that'll be this current semester in the report. If I save that, it saves that template, and I can go back to use that template in any class that I have. So from here, if I go print and let it do its thing, that was fast that time. And you can see it's gotten rid of some of the extra stuff that I didn't need. So if what I wanted wasn't showing up, or if I wanted to get rid of some stuff, I can clean it up a little bit that way. So what I did for my classes is I went through and printed this report. For each one, it shows me the letter grade and the percent as of today or whatever day I printed them. And then I'm just storing that in my Google Drive. And at the end of the semester, I'll be able to refer back to it when I go into input grades at the end of the semester. So that's one report. Go back again. I had another question on how to get reports for like a list of students or some other types of information, like if I wanted a list of phone numbers there with it, or email addresses or whatnot. So I'm going to go, again, any class, I go into the reports. I'm going to go down here to probably grade sheet report again. Oh, down here, class information, that's what I want. So I'm going to do student information and take a look at what that report looks like. So student information down towards the bottom of that reports list. And again, I'm just going to print it to see what it looks like to begin with, and then we can modify it however we want. There we go. So this is giving me kind of like their whole profile, right? All the information, phone numbers, email addresses, and all that kind of stuff are there. So let me go back and we will clone that template, because you can't modify one of their standard templates. You can make a copy of it though. So if I clone that, I'll call it test 2. And here's all the things that we can include or not include in the report. So probably, I don't think I'll need emergency contacts in this report. Student profile information, family member information. I want the mailing address, let's say. It'll probably give me phone numbers anyway. Current schedule, I don't need. Discipline, academic history, no. Current grade might be helpful. Grade buckets, semester 1, semester 2, okay. And that's probably good enough. So again, pick the things you want, the things you need out of the report, and then print it and see what it looks like. The real key here is on any of the reports that are under that reports menu, you can change what shows up in the report. You just need to make a copy of the template first, and then it'll allow you to modify that template any way you want. So this is a little cleaner. I can see current grades for students. Of course, there's no grades in this database, but I could see it for the other students that for the other classes that they take. But I get all the information listed here for a given student, and then their family profile stuff. I can get a report like that. There are other reports that you could choose that'll give you this stuff in more of a spreadsheet format. Not a big fan of the way that Skyward outputs things in a spreadsheet. You end up having to do quite a bit of work on it to get it to come out. And some reports you can convert to Excel, a spreadsheet there. I'm going to go do that with this one and see what happens. I'll do simple dump and see what happens. I'm on a Chromebook, so we'll see what happens with Excel trying to open that. Maybe it won't let me. No. We got to allow downloads. There we go. Maybe. Yeah. View. I'm not sure if it's thinking about it or if it just won't do it because I'm on a Chromebook and it's an Excel file, but try that. Download export file. That's great. Let's see if it's in my downloads folder. Looks like I did it a bunch. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the Chromebook here is not real happy with the format of the Excel spreadsheet, but it can be done. Just so you know, my experience with the spreadsheets is it takes a bunch of work to clean it up once it outputs it. So I have not been a big fan of downloading this stuff in a spreadsheet format. All right, so let me check and see where we might be perhaps with questions. Let's see. Miss Grove says, I've created a new extended learning category in Skyward for my weekly assignments starting April. I was just looking at a student grade book and I see that this extended learning category is at the bottom of the grade breakdown. Is there a way to make it show up at the top? Unfortunately, those, not only the names of the categories for assignments, but also the order that they're in, you're stuck. You can't edit those. So no, unfortunately, there is not a way to make it show up at the top of the list. Another person says, I need help with a report. If you tell me which report, I can work on that. So I'll come back to that, hopefully. I do want to show you quickly, we'll switch over to an email thing here. I do want to show you a couple of things that are, one thing that's really new to Gmail, and one thing that's a really easy way to do things. So first of all, I made a signature video, how to make email signatures video, posted on the YouTube channel. If you haven't seen that, check it out. But something that's new since then was not included in the video because Google hadn't released it yet. When you go to compose an email now, there's another little new icon down here at the bottom, and it says insert signature. This will allow you to choose from multiple signatures. So you're not just one signature. You used to be, we're stuck to just one. Now you can have multiple different signatures, and you can use different signatures in different situations. So if you are teaching a class and you're a coach and you're a club advisor, you might want to have different signatures for those different situations. And now you can. So if you click on that button there at the bottom where it says insert signature, you get the option to choose a signature, or you can manage signatures. And this takes you right into the settings option to modify your signature. So I'm going to go ahead and click there. And now it's taken me into the settings, into the signature section. You can see my current signature is there, and I can create a new one. I'm just going to call this one test. And it gives me the option to work on a new signature. This could be helpful not only if you need multiple signatures for different situations, different jobs that you do, but it could also be helpful if you want to keep your old signature while you're working on your new one. Maybe you work on it over the course of a few days or a few weeks and get it all tweaked just the way you like it. Then you can get rid of the old one and have the new one. So I like this feature. You can choose whatever your default email signature is, and you can use different signatures in different situations. So I like that feature, and if you haven't tried that out, you should definitely check that out. The other thing I want to do is talk about filters real quick. There's a quick and easy way to make a filter or folder to put your stuff in. So you can see right now I've got a folder, a label, Google technically calls them, called Stuff to Keep. These are emails that I got that have information in them that I want to keep longer term. So I created that real quick, and then I was able to drag and drop items into that folder. So here's how I did that. Down here at the bottom, you may have to click the More button, but down at the bottom it says Create New Label. I'll just call it Test, but you can call it whatever makes sense to you. And I get a new label over here on the left-hand side labeled Test. And then I can simply just take the emails I want in it and drag it over to that test label, and it will apply that label to it. Notice that the email disappears from this area, and this is my spam, and it shows up over here in the test label. So now I've got 2 emails in there. I can put another one in there, third one, and so on. So this makes it pretty easy to get things into folders, so to speak. Again, Gmail doesn't really do folders, but that makes it pretty quick and easy to put things into a different area so you can keep track of stuff. So hopefully that'll help you organize your email a little bit. I don't know about you, but I'm getting a lot more emails these days than I did before. Back to questions. Kate says, I want to get the disposition for each health room visit. I checked that box, but it doesn't show up on the report. I don't know for sure if we're using Skyward for health room visits or not. I've never looked into that. I would have to ask our school nurse or administrator on that. It might also be that it is hidden from teachers. So not all the information that goes into Skyward is available to everybody that uses Skyward. For example, as teachers, we can only see the students we work with that are in our classes. And we still can't see all of the information that's in there for that student. Some of it is private or a need-to-know basis or whatever. And that may be where that stuff is. Kate says, yes, we are. It worked earlier this year for a different nurse. So this would be a question that I would throw to our district Skyward person. It may be a matter of permissions, and it's not a filter or report that I'm familiar with. Again, I'm not sure that I have access to those like you might as a school nurse. So I would definitely talk to the district Skyward person at the district office for that. Lisa says, are folders and labels in the same in Gmail? Essentially, yes. Google doesn't work with folders. They just apply labels to everything. So technically speaking, all of your emails are in one bucket. And then in that bucket, each one has different labels on it. So when you click on a label, what we would typically call a folder, like I just created a test label, test folder, right? When you click on that label, Google goes in and grabs all the emails that have that label on it in that bucket and shows them to you. So what Google does really well is search, and so they've leveraged that search capability to organize your emails. So they don't actually put it in a physically different place. It's all still in the same bucket, but when you ask to see all of the emails in the test folder, it pulls all the ones that have that label and shows them to you. So essentially, yes, they're the same thing in Google speak, labels and folders. Carla says, I use labels often. If you want to move a label to the top, you have to number it. Yeah, so it organizes them on the left-hand side for you. So if you want to move it up, a number in front of it is a good way to do it. Absolutely. Another question says, can teachers see the IHPs for their students through Skyward? Yes. I'm not sure if I can show you how that works on the training database here because I'm not sure if they've uploaded it or not. So if I go to this student, for example, I can see that this student has a little red cross here, which means there's a medical condition. So I can see some short information about those things there. So that's one way that you can see it. As far as the actual IHP form, let me see if they have anything in here that will actually show up. I don't know that this is going to work, but I'll give it a try. Yeah. So I know with IEPs, I can go to my students with disabilities, and it will give me attachments right here. So if I click on attachment right there, it gives me, if there was an IEP, it would be attached there. I'd be able to view the attachment there. And I'm not sure if the IHPs would show up in the same spot. I kind of think not. But that's one place I would look. I could look in my own Skyward, but I don't want to do that on camera because of privacy reasons. But this is one place I would look to see if it was there, the IHPs. I know the IEPs are here, but you can see at least the short version to see if they have a condition or not. As far as the actual IHP, I'm not certain, but I think it would show up in the same place here under attachments with students with disabilities. But I would have to definitely have to double check that. All right, so let's see. One more thing I want to toss your guys' way. If you can not show my screen for a second, Marcus. Okay, thank you. Okay, so here we go. One of the things I've run into a lot of questions about recently is annotating, writing on top of PDFs. A lot of teachers have worksheets that they need the students to work on. They're being scanned into a PDF, but then how does the student actually write on it in a way that the teacher can see it? Or if a student is turning in some scanned work, how can the teacher mark on that? Kami is an extension that I've recommended in the past, and it's pretty good. It's kind of painful in terms of they want you to go to the paid version, so you can only do so much with the free version. I've come across another option called DocHub. A colleague of mine suggested this the other day, so I've been checking it out, and it works pretty well. So once you've gone to the Google Play Store and installed the DocHub extension, you can see the little blue D in the upper right-hand corner, which I think is behind my picture. Yeah, there it is. Once you've got it installed, you can go ahead into your Google Drive, you open up a PDF, and then in the middle here it says Open With. And if you click on Open With, you get some choices there. You can see I still have Kami installed, but DocHub is now one of them. And if I open it with DocHub, I get all kinds of cool tools to work with here. You can, for example, add a text box, add text at a particular spot. So you could place that anywhere you want on the page. So if I wanted to answer a question there or whatever, I could type an answer there. You can also do draw freehand. Now, this works probably I'm going to say, I haven't tried it on an iPad, but it probably works a lot better on an iPad because you can just point with your finger and draw. On here, you're going to be kind of limited to what you can do with the mouse or the trackpad in order to draw or label. And you could, of course, do circles. If you ask them to, circle the best answer, they could do that. You can highlight things like that. One of the things then, and the reason this popped up is signatures. So I had a colleague that was looking to put some signatures on a document, and it's not a true like legal signature, but it makes it look nicer anyway. You can actually create a signature, and let's see. I can choose from some preset ones. I can like actually sign my name on a piece of paper and take a picture of it and upload that image or whatever. I might decide that, as a signature, this one looks pretty fancy, so I'll use that. Save it as my default. And then if I want to sign it, I can choose it here. And then I can put it wherever I need to. I can, of course, size it and whatnot. And then it makes it look like it was signed. I wouldn't want to sign, like loan papers with this way or whatever, but at least it can make it look like it's a signature instead of typed in there. So I'm really liking DocHub. If you have a need to use PDF annotation, highly recommend giving it a try. I am going to talk with the tech support folks and see if we can get this enabled for students. I don't suspect that it'll be a problem, but sometimes they know something more about it than we do and decide that it's not okay. But I think this one's going to be okay. So I will do my best to get that allowed for devices as soon as we can. So anyway, DocHub, good way to go. Check that one out. All right, so we're getting towards the end of time here. If anybody's got any other questions, get them in there and we'll get them answered. you are welcome, Sasha. I hope, like I said, I hope I can get DocHub enabled for students. I think it's a much better option than Cami has been so far. So hopefully we'll get that. Merci. I do miss, Sasha, walking into your class and having the whole class sing to me. I know that I probably look like it's awkward when they do that, but that was cool. All right. As always, if you have questions or concerns or things you're stuck on or whatever, don't be afraid to shoot me an email and I'll help you. Helping probably half a dozen people a day at least with different things, and I'm happy to do it. Even if you think it's a small question or whatever, sometimes 10 other people have had the same question. So don't be afraid to shoot me an email and we can connect and be happy to help you out with stuff. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon. You'll get some notifications when we do live streams and when I post new videos and stuff. You won't want to miss out on those. So until next week, everyone, have a good week. Take care.